Hello everyone, and welcome back to another figure review. Today we're taking a look at the second Tamashii Nations Store Dragon Ball exclusive, the S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan Son Goku Z Fighters. This figure is available at any Tamashii Nations store, so for example, if you live in the United States, you can pick this up at the Tamashii Nations Store in New York City. But if you're like me and you live far away from the Big Apple, you'll have to resort to the aftermarket. Along with the Innocent Challenger Goku, I had to pick this up secondhand off of eBay. And I do want to give a quick shout out to the seller for taking care of me. He's got this Goku available along with the NYCC Vegito, so if you're on the hunt for either of those figures, give Legit Ken Rock a shot. That's X Legit Ken Rock X on eBay. Now back to the figure. With this release, we are now one step closer to having all the accurate figures necessary to recreate the ending of the Dragon Ball Z intro where Goku drops down and goes Super Saiyan. Yes, we still need an official Trunks from Tamashii where he's not sporting his jacket, but if you got the Taunts and Art Toys Trunks, aka War to Vengeance version A or B, you can substitute him in. But as I've already stated, this is a Tamashii Nations Store exclusive, so you will have to pay a little bit of a markup, to which I'm sure you're wondering if the figure is worth that extra markup. So let's get into the review and find out. Starting with the packaging, the box design is going to be exclusive to the Tamashii Nations Store. On the front, we have a close-up picture of Goku to our left with the Tamashii Nations Store logo front and center with the name of the figure below. The right side of the box is nothing special and looks to be the portion of the standard box design where they put the import sticker on, which usually covers all the information we see here. The back side of the box gives us a better look at Goku with the Tamashii Nations Store logo on the right and the Bandai Collect sticker on the bottom left-hand corner. I will note that the image Goku does have a slightly raised texture to him and it has a glossy feeling to it. The left side of the box has the name of the figure and the Tamashii Nation logos in that same raised textured feeling. Here's a quick look at the bottom of the box. And the top to round out the packaging. For the paint detail on Goku here, this is basically going to be a translucent version of the full power Super Saiyan Son Goku, much like the Goku that came bundled with the 2023 SDCC Gohan, but this time he's sporting a translucent orange with some paint-apps here and there to make him look not so transparent, and also the updated head sculpt. The orange of his gi will have some shading to hide the fact that he is transparent, you know, when you don't have a light source penetrating the figure. The blue we see on the gi and his wristbands are painted on, with blue highlights to represent the glow of the Super Saiyan aura around him. The rest of the blues, such as the belt and boots, are molded in blue with the same highlights as we see throughout the figure. And the boots have those red and brown touches to give them their iconic look. For the hair, we get two sculpts, and you all know by now, I love these types of translucent sculpts and their metallic finish. These are going to have a windswept look to them to again represent the fact that he just powered up, and one of them will have a singular bang for that split second where the hair is swept up in the animation. Overall, I love the execution for these, and I personally think they are leagues better than the full power Super Saiyan head sculpt, which I think my biggest gripe there is the fact that the faces look off and the hair is just a bit too flat for my liking. Here, the hair is a nice golden orange with pearl flakes scattered about. As for the faces, these are honestly the second best thing about the figure. They look so much more detailed when compared to something like the full power Goku, which again are a bit of an eyesore to me. The print work for the Z Fighters Goku is solid, and I'd argue that it is the same level of detail that we saw in this year's SDCC Goku. One of the few gripes I do have with the figure are his sideburns. If they had been painted the same color as his eyebrows, the overall execution would have flown much better. With the way it looks right now, the sideburns stick out like a sore thumb. The other glaring issue I have is the fact that you could see his hip joints when the floating crotch pieces are not in the way. Something also to keep in mind is the fact that translucent plastic is more susceptible to sunlight fade and degradation. So just be mindful when posing or storing this figure in an area where sunlight could potentially come into contact with it. Outside of those three things, I think Goku's execution is amazing. It reminds me of this Irwin Toys Vegeta that I had growing up as a kid. It had transparent hair and a rock base that you could stick him onto. And with the press of a button, that iconic Super Saiyan aura sound effect would trigger and his hair would start flashing. Sounds kinda dumb, but hey, I was like 10 years old and it was a pretty cool gimmick. For the accessories, Goku here is going to come with everything you come to expect with almost every other 2.0 release of Goku. So right out of the box we get 3 faceplates, 5 sets of hands, and that extra hair sculpt I mentioned earlier in the review. For the faces we get a stern face, a teeth gritting face, and a shouting face. Not including the fists that come attached, we get 2 instant transmission hands, 2 martial arts style hands, 2 open palm hands, and 2 Kamehameha hands. As for what I think the figure is missing, I'd say probably another faceplate. I'm pretty content with everything that comes bundled with Goku, as I'm sure the process for making translucent figures is not the cheapest thing. Plus, he does have some paint apps to make up for the fact he'd otherwise be a completely translucent figure, and that looked kinda goofy. Alright, let's get into the articulation here for Goku. Being a 2.0 figure, and seeing as I've reviewed a couple 2.0 Gokus, I'll keep this short and sweet and hit the highlights, touch on the low notes, and we'll move on from there. So, starting with the head and working our way down, Goku is going to be on a ball hinge that lets him look up about that high, and look down about like so. The ball hinge is serviceable for, what it is. Because the way the head sits down on the peg, you do get a little bit of rotation, little swivel, pivot, whatever you want to call it, but I wouldn't push it any more than this unless you rotate that ball hinge, as we all know. The neck joint is... it's there. It's manageable. It's not the greatest, but it'll work. And yeah. Moving on to the arms. Goku has some sleeves here that are pegged into the back of the shoulder that you do have to move out of the way if you want to get Goku to raise his arms up higher than that much right there. So once these are out of the way, you can then raise Goku's arms up almost 180 degrees. We do get some butterfly joints that, believe it or not, folks, are color matched to the gi. I know, amazing, right? Not very often you see this on a Goku figure, especially when we have the mold that it borrows from, which is this one right here. The not Saiyan Raised on Earth, this is the full power Goku. It's skin matched, or yeah, the skin tone. And then in here it's matched to the gi, which, kudos to you, Bandai. Proud of you. We do have an upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and wrist hinges, or their hinges for the wrist pegs that do rotate full 360. So just in case you were wondering. For the torso, we do get a little bit of crunch. We do get some leaning back on top of that. I would be very careful leaning the figure forward and back without first extending the torso, which we do have a bit of a torso extension. Otherwise, if you're not careful, you could cause some scuffing because the center part of his chest here, or his torso and stomach, is painted. So, as you can kind of see right there, it's not removing the paint, but it will cause issues if you're not careful. We do get some rotation, pivot, side to side at the upper abdomen. And down to the waist, we do get some rotation. For the legs, Goku can kick out that far and kick back about like so. Again, because this is a 2.0 design and we have these floating crotch pieces here, or the cut in the thighs, you're going to be limited to how far you can get Goku to kick out, which is about 45 degrees. And again, I do not like how you can see the joint, but it is what it is. It's almost like his crotch has eyes. Like, you can see the eyes, and that's like the beak of a bird. I don't know. We have upper thigh swivels. Double jointed knees. This is kind of stiff on me for whatever reason. And for the feet, we do have a bit of an ankle rocker. That's going in, that's going out. And then tilting the foot down is pretty solid. And then tilting the foot up is also pretty solid. And then toe hinges. So yep, that's the articulation for Goku. Pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward. I will say again, I mean, it's a bit dated, but for what it is, I am pretty proud of it. Mainly just because I love the head sculpts. That's probably the best thing about the figure. And the fact that it's translucent. I like messing with lighting and everything, which is why it is such, I don't know, it's a nice little treat when we get figures like this. I will note, too, that the figure does feel a little gummy. Gummy might not be the right term, but Goku is kind of soft, if that makes sense. And I think it's because of the type of plastic, because of being translucent and not your standard I guess it's solid plastic. So I don't know if that would, cause a difference in tolerance in joints. Like I said, that knee was kind of tight on me. This one here, not so much, but it is something to keep in mind. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on from here and do some head swaps. For head swaps, we'll be taking a look at what the standard head sculpt looks like on the following figures: the Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku, the Full Power Super Saiyan Goku, Ultra Instinct Saiyan Goku, and Ultra Instinct Goku. I will note that I left the standard head sculpt on the Full Power Goku just for a bit too long, and it made the head sculpt a little loose when I tried putting it back on the Z Fighters Goku. So be mindful that keeping it on there long term could potentially stress the peg hole. Giggity. And for the hell of it, here's what these head sculpts look like on the Z Fighters body. As you'll notice, there's a pretty stark contrast in skin tone, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, I honestly think the Ultra Instinct Saiyan head sculpt looks pretty good on this body. And as far as my favorite swap for the Z Fighters head sculpt, it's definitely the Ultra Instinct Saiyan Goku. Which one was your favorite? For the comparisons, here's Goku next to Kid Gohan, Super Saiyan Vegeta, Awakened Super Saiyan Blood, Super Saiyan Trunks, the boy from the future, and Piccolo, the proud Namekian. So for my closing thoughts, I'll keep it short and sweet. This Goku is exactly what I expected it to be. Outside of the translucent body, there's nothing game-changing about the figure when it comes to articulation. He is literally the same 2.0 Goku we've had for almost a decade now. And I get the community's issues with getting the same old mold over and over again. But as many reviewers have stated, we have to understand that it's releases like this that pay for the newer figures and their sculpts later down the road. I overall think this figure scratches a specific itch for those of you out there who want to complete a display with all the Z Fighters lined up from the intro. And whenever the time comes for me to build the display, I'll probably be doing that. But as a standalone figure, I think he's solid if this type of translucent thing is up your alley. It's very niche, but I do see myself using the head sculpts on a variety of Gokus until I find that perfect combination. So pick this up if you're wanting to round out that Z Fighters display, or if you're wanting to take advantage of those extra head sculpts. Otherwise, you can safely pass and spend your $50 to $80 on something else. Again, if you do want to pick this up, give legit Ken Rock a chance. And I'm not being paid to shout out the seller or anything like that. I just want to promote them for taking care of me and going that extra mile. But that's going to bring us to the end of the review. I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for making it to the end. If you haven't already, kindly hit the like button and subscribe, as it helps me out and keeps the channel growing. Plus, I've got other reviews up and more to come. I'd also love to know what you think about the figure. Do you wish it was more readily available than just being a store exclusive? Is this figure something you have to have, or did you skip entirely? I'd love to hear it all. But as always, this has been Elite Reviews, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.